How is everyone? I'm just leaving our friend Noble's live stream. He is his usual animated self, full of life, full of joy. And I'm getting ready to look up a poem. I'm also thanking our friend Goldie. So, let's see. Going to look up a poem by E. Cummings, who I enjoy quite a bit. So it was an enjoyable live stream earlier today. I like those live streams when we're sort of able to chat. It's fun, just to bat some things around, banter, have a good time, relax and talk. But I'll be honest, my favorite is when we talk of some more substantive things. So this is from E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenish spirits of trees and blue true dreams of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. Man, I absolutely love that. Goldie is there. Hello, Goldie, how are you? How are you? Sorry. I was just reading from E. Cummings, one of my favorite poets, maybe my favorite poet. And it begins with, I thank you, God, for this most amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. Big fan of E. Cummings. Goldie said, exhausted, just made it home from work. Hey, have you hired anyone new yet? Are you still doing shifts by yourself, or have you gotten some help? One of the things I absolutely love about E. Cummings is he invented his style. No one else like him. And that can serve as a role model for what anyone does on YouTube. There's some set patterns that people say, the people who've succeeded, as well as the people in charge of YouTube. These are the paths to success, and they're laid out and they're given to us. And I'm sure they work. But at what cost? Are you following a pattern for success, but the pattern robs you of what you could have done? And I'm not saying you should do one or the other. I mean, there's a lot to be said for success, traditional success, making some money, having security. However, not everyone, I think, is cut out for that. There's different molds for each of us. And if you find that you're just not leaning in that direction, don't worry about it. Break every single rule. Be as creative as your creativity calls you to be, and see where it leads you. Who knows? People had to do things differently just to get at this point in the social media world. Um, and then everyone laid down these laws and said, okay, this is how you do it. This is what led to my success and this person's success and this person's success. And again, I'm not saying that those aren't helpful. For me, I just find myself unable to abide by all of them. I would be better served, I'm sure. Goldie says, I have a Christian song in my mind right now. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. And as long as I'm able, I will sing of the goodness of God. It's a beautiful line. Not sure I've heard that song. Man, you know what? I was thinking earlier today. We had a big conversation this afternoon on, I was talking about practicing Christianity, how it seems to lack a practice. And you and I have talked of this before. And it seems to be a very important subject because I think some people lose their way without having that type of practice. They say, you know, what is Christianity? And they talk about faith. But what does it say in the Bible about faith without actions? Just having faith in God, just having faith that Jesus is the salvation, with no action, with no positive action. And it had me thinking of when Jesus was asked, I'm going to Google this up right now. When Jesus was asked, what is the greatest commandment? And remember, Jesus didn't come to reiterate the Old Testament. When I say remember, I don't mean you specifically, Goldie, because I know that you have it in your heart. So it's more than just the general. Jesus didn't come to reiterate the New Testament. He came for the New Testament. This is the way we live our life. If you want to live the Old Testament way, you may as well be Jewish, which is absolutely fine. But Jesus offered a new way, a different way, a way of infinite love, a way of forgiveness. And when he was asked, teacher, which is the greatest commandment? Which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus replies, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the laws and prophets hang on these two commandments. Well, there's our practice. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. Love your neighbor as yourself. Two simple things. If you need more than those two, go back to Sermon on the Mount, and you have a complete path. If you need more than that, go to the Prayer of St. Francis, where we pray, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. It lays out a complete path for a Christian to truly, truly follow the way of Christ, instead of going to church once a week or once a month or whatever. Goldie says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and mind. Um, Wildlife is here. Greetings, beautiful people. Hello, my friend. I always mention how much I love those entrances. People just coming in with so much love and compassion and joy in their life and offering out to people. And I feel truly blessed to be on the receiving end of that. What Life says, is this what they call vertical streaming? I don't know, because I don't know what the other streaming looked like. It looks absolutely the same to me as when I first started doing live streams. So several people have mentioned it, and when it months ago people said, "Oh, I see you switched to vertical streaming," I was like, "Nope, I didn't do anything at all. Things just started happening." So it amazes me, as Goldie and I've talked about, I'm not officially a Christian, although one of the benefits of being Catholic is when you are baptized and confirmed Catholic, you're always a Catholic. Although I consider myself a practicing yogi. I follow the path of yoga with some sprinkling of Buddhism, a little bit of Taoism. Actually, no, quite a bit of Taoism. Sprinkling of Sufism. I love the Christian mystics, absolutely, because St. Catherine of Siena, Meister Eckhart, St. John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, that didn't come out right. People who truly, truly found the way of Christ within their hearts, much the same way as when the Buddha sat under the Buddha tree. Wildlife says, I've been working in the gardens. I hope your soil and soul continue to flourish. That was a beautiful sentiment. I hope your soil and soul continue to flourish. Absolutely beautiful. I might use that in writing, and I will credit it to our friend Wildlife. Wildlife says, I'm more spiritual than religious. That's how I would sum myself up as well. Although I don't even like to use the term spiritual so much, as it has all kinds of connotations to it. Some good, some not so good. But I think it sort of confuses the issue. I like to say that I live a life of spirit. That I'm not spiritual, I'm spirit living a life. It was, Teilhard D. I'm so bad at saying names. Who said, Pierre Teilhard D. Chardin, a French Jesuit priest, as well as an archaeologist. It's an interesting combination. And his famous statement that we're not human beings having a spiritual experience, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I've always liked that. So that's the one thing. I wonder, had Christianity been presented to me as a path in my formative years, if it would have made a difference, if I would have found myself more engaged. I'm doing a little survey here as well. As Mocha sent me. He sent her a little message. There we go. So today, by the way, marks the 9-year anniversary of my first successful 100-mile run. And the race was held again today. And I have some friends who finished it and got the buckle. So I'm offering a big congratulations to them. Part of me misses doing those super long races. Part of me is a little glad um, that those days are over for now, at least. It's a lot. It's a lot of training, a lot of effort put into it, and I'm not opposed to training. I still work out every day. Um, I do. I mean, the title of my channel here is Yogi and burpees, as well as some other stuff. And I walk and still run probably 30 plus miles a week. But man, putting in the big miles to get in shape for an ultra takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment. Um, so, what do you guys think of spiritual paths? Do you have one? Um, do you meditate? Do you do yoga? Do you do breath work? Do you pray? Do you, um, whatever it is that you find yourself being called to do? Do you commit to it? For me, and it's just me, I don't expect anyone to follow what I do. I've taken everything in my life to extremes at one point or another. Um, but this path, this way of life suits me. And it has been decades in the making. One little thing, it's like a slide, a long slide into this restfulness, into this restorative um, sense of beingness that I find myself in right now. That, you know, way, way, way back when I was a kid, um, finding myself interested in buying books, how to teach yourself yoga and stuff like that. And then in the 80s, reading all kinds of um, philosophical, spiritual texts, starting to meditate in the late 80s, making a very serious effort in the 90s, um, committing myself to it, as well as writing in the 2000s, and then finally becoming a teacher. Um, Again, it's like my whole life has been sliding in this direction, and it feels like a slide. It doesn't feel like any type of effort, just happening. Goldie says, hi to What's Life. Mocha says, oops, sorry I'm late. That's okay. No one's ever late. Everyone's always exactly on time. Unless, like Mocha, you were in the military. And then being late can be a very serious event. Or, you know, if you have an actual job, unlike me right now. I guess I could be categorized as a gig worker, sort of. Goldie, I don't remember. I don't know if you heard my earlier question. Um, have you gotten some help at your job? And by the way, Isabella is a beautiful name. Isabella. Yeah, I really love that name. I don't recall I've ever met anybody who had that name, but just reading it and just saying it strikes me as very lovely. Goldie says, hi there, lovely Mocha. And hey, lovely Goldie. Goldie says, nope, I still had to hold my shift on my own. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hope they get someone soon. Goldie says, except for 2 hours when it was extra busy. Isabella Rossellini. That's true. I forget about her. But I don't actually know her. I mean, we've hung out casually and everything, but, you know, do we ever really know anyone? So one of the questions I had posed was wondering if my formative years in Christianity would have been different um, had it been presented as a path. Had I been told these are the things to do, um, and you could know Christ within your heart. These are the things to practice, and you will be filled with the joy of being in service. Things along those lines, because that's what drew me to yoga. That's what drew me towards Buddhism. Is yoga is the 8 limbs of yoga, and it tells you begin with the ethical foundation. Do this. If you practice ahimsa, non-harming, then you are filled with peace. The opposite of what you're restraining flourishes in your life. If you practice non-stealing, then you have a life of abundance. If you practice non-lying, then that's why everything is framed in the negative, non-hoarding. If you practice non-lying, everything you say is true. Everything you say becomes true. You're able to manifest miracles in your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't say it because you don't speak untruths. Same with practicing non-hoarding. Then you realize you can't hold on to anything and you're free. Very simple, 5 things to practice. So then you have the 5 niyamas, which are personal observances. So the yamas focus on the external world. Don't lie, don't steal, don't harm. Be mindful of your how you spend your energy. And the niyamas turn things inwards. They're personal observances, cleanliness, studying holy texts and self-inquiry, surrender, discipline. Bodhi says, I was told that they already did. He starts in May. Awesome. May is not too far. What are we on the 28th? So hopefully early in May. And of course, then, there will be the training, getting used to it. Goldie says, no, I believe Christianity is a relationship of love. I do too. But I think it's helpful to have the steps to that realization of love. Because I grew up seeing, I had bad experiences with nuns. I mean bad, being struck by nuns, and being mean. They were mean to me, verbally aggressive and mean. I've had bad experiences with brothers and with priests as well. Not to mention confrontations with Christians for just having different thoughts or having different questions in religion class, asking questions. And instead of getting an answer, I got abuse. So it just makes me wonder if we could have a better approach to that relationship of love, if we taught people how to achieve it. The end result of yoga is reaching samadhi, which is bliss consciousness, and then living your life from there. And everything you do leads to that end result. And you begin practicing immediately because you know that not only is it possible, that you contain the seeds of its fruition within you right now. Same with Buddhism. Buddha says life is suffering. This is why life is suffering, and I will tell you how to get out of suffering. And so he does. And what I love is when you read the actual words of Jesus, he does the same thing. He says, along the lines of, this is a path of love, this is a path of forgiveness, and this is how you do it. He gives you the Sermon on the Mount, and he tells you 2 commandments. Love God, love your neighbor as yourself. Goldie says, you obey out of love. You spend time in the Bible because you want to read his love letter to you. And you surrender out of love. Surrender is a huge thing in yoga as well. And it's the same thing, that you are surrendering yourself to God. You're surrendering your practice to God. And I agree with everything that you're saying. But I don't know if it's enough for the average, or I don't know if that's taught to people. Instead, we're given all of these social regulations. We're giving all of these things that aren't even mentioned in the New Testament and told, this is what you have to do. You need to do this. You need to vote for this person. You need to be this kind of person if you want to get into heaven. And instead of saying exactly what you said, surrender to love, surrender to the words in the Bible, surrender to forgiveness. Cody says, nope, no training. He's an ex-employee. Oh, that's handy. That's great. Cody says, I have no experiences with nuns, and that's sad. It is sad because these are people who dedicated their life to God and yet don't live a life of love. You would think the most joyous people in the world would be those who have surrendered their life. The meditation masters that I've met, the Buddhist meditation masters and yogis, are steeped in that, and it comes off of them in waves. When you're in their presence, the mind actually gets quiet and your heart melts and you find yourself naturally surrendering to the presence of God that they hold within. And man, the nuns and the priests and the brothers, not a single one ever had that. Now, I've mentioned before Anthony DeMello, who was a Jesuit priest, who, and you can watch him on YouTube as well, and he is full of that love. And people who would come near him would just spontaneously renew their faith or gain faith just in his presence, because he was so steeped in the love that he had for God and Jesus. Gordy says, and I get along with him. Well, that's awesome. That's really important. Working side by side with someone that you like, I think is key. Gordy says, yes, but Jesus said, in this life you will have trouble. So Christianity is not a promise to do this for you to have a happy, untroubled. I agree as well. And, it's the same yoga and Buddhism. They don't, that's the whole notion of Buddhism, that life is hard. And if you want to make it a little easier, follow these steps. What I love about Christianity as a path is it's a path of forgiveness, which leads to surrender. and leads to serenity. When I practice forgiveness, um, I find myself at my most peaceful because I'm letting go. I'm not imprisoning myself with resentments for another person, that I'm literally setting myself free from forgiveness. And what better example of forgiveness than Jesus on the cross, who could have called for vengeance, who could have called down for um, his enemies to be struck. Instead, he said, they do not know what they do. Gordy says, Eric, it sounds like those nuns were actually very, very religious, not true practicing. Yeah, that is actually true. Just going through the motion. Um, but I'm talking over the chat. Oh, no, not at all. I love these discussions, Gordy, and I absolutely love having them with you. Um, what I love about our conversations is I love when we come to a meeting place, how we weave our different thoughts through the chat, but we can come to this meeting place of understanding. Gordy says yes, and also the consciousness of Jesus walking with you through the hard times. When I was a kid, um, I seem to have felt that very deeply. Uh, I was of course, as I said, I was baptized Catholic, confirmed Catholic. It was 8th grade when we had confirmation. But as a kid, I felt like I could literally feel the presence of Jesus. That, as Goldie says, consciousness of Jesus walking with me through life. And when I started to lose that and would have questions, that's when the religion classes, the teachers would sort of strike that down and say, you can't just have a relationship with Jesus, that, you have to take these steps. You got to read the Bible. You have to you have to have a go-between. You have to go to the priest. He's the one. You'll have a relationship with a priest. He has a relationship with Jesus, and he'll tell you what to do. Gordy said, seem to. You mean that I seem to have a relationship? Yeah, I guess that's a strange phrasing. I guess I'd say seem to because, it faded as I grew older, to the point when things begin to, they're that memory, and you wonder, did it really happen? Night Watcher, batteries, and fire. Man, just when I was getting used to calling you Night Watcher. How are you? Night Watcher says, I just came from Nobles. I had him up. It was fun visiting for a while. Let me pop in and see if he's still up and about. He is. I see some friends over there. I see Holgo. Goldie says, I was baptized, reformed, confirmed, reformed, Luther Martin, and baptized Baptist. Huh. I used to love the Catholic Mass in Latin. It's such a holy feel to it. Latin, Hebrew, Sanskrit, those languages that seem so close to the lips of God. Goldie says hi there to Night Watcher. Yep, I see our friend up and live streaming. No one does it better. Night Watcher says, also may I ask a question, Goldie? It's kind of hard to tell your gender from your profile picture. Please tell me, no offense. I know you tell me if you are not comfortable. Squirrel Sniper's here, greeting beautiful souls from across the pond, but under the same skies. How are you, Squirrel Sniper? Hope you're having a good weekend. Just about over. Goldie says, Eric, is there a way you can tap back into that feeling? If you're not like children, you will never enter into the kingdom of God. In many ways I have, Goldie, but just in a different way. Not through the presence of Jesus, although I do think that I have repaired my relationship quite a bit. Not that the relationship itself needed to be repaired, but my attitude towards. It's funny that it was through the practice of yoga and meditation and what was presented to me by my meditation teachers that renewed my love towards Jesus. That I was able to bring that relationship back into my heart without need of explanation and without need of a go-between. That I no longer need a someone telling me that I need a priest, which is a ridiculous thing to be told. I think that you can't have your own relationship with Jesus. You can have a relationship with a priest, and they will tell you everything you need to know. And I agree with the innocence completely, and not just spiritually, but actually for our own sake, our own curiosity. Everyone's saying hi too. Squirrel Sniper. Goldie says, yes, Night Watcher. I'm a she. I'm a 44-year-old lady. I was going to say something, but I did not want to speak for you. I was going to say Goldie is a lovely young lady. And before you say, Goldie, well, not young, 44 is pretty young from where I'm standing. And definitely lovely. Squirrel Sniper said, collected my boy from 2 days of rain on his hiking weekend. Yeah, he was orienteering, wasn't he? He's now fed and fast asleep. He looks 2 years older. Yeah, being out in the woods will do that. Night Watcher says, it's just me because I always type faster than I think and have many spelling mistakes because of it. Like I type faster than I think. You do pretty well. And normally if there's a typo, I just skip over it. You know, I can generally see what you're saying. Squirrel Sniper says hi to Goldie. Goldie says my relationship grew out of the need to know who I was. You know what? I can say pretty much exactly the same. You know, as a matter of fact, I still practice a form of self-inquiry where I ask myself, who am I? And you never settle on an answer. Anything you name is not who you are. It's a name. It's a label. And eventually you get to the point where you just reach silence, which always brings me back to what Herman Melville wrote in Moby Dick, that silence is the true voice of God. Which is why many traditions won't speak God. When Moses was on the mount and he asked the burning bush, who should I say I received these from? And the answer was, I am that I am. I am. Squirrel Sniper says, greeting Night Watcher of Batters and Fire. I think Night Watcher has beaten my name as far as length. My cat's in here meowing at me. Goldie says, Sniper. Goldie says, I'm not saying anything. I'm flying with the compliment. Goldie also says, don't worry about a Night Watcher. We understand that. I have Jason when I'm exhausted. Almost, man, if I was typing comments, almost every one would be a mistake. I'm lucky that I get to sit here and talk. And when you listen to me talk, you hear me stumble. Speaking is not my forte. I've mentioned before, as a I'm pretty open with everything I've been through, from my drinking days, the mistakes that I've made, and I mentioned before that I had to visit a speech therapist for quite a few years as a child, and it caused me no small amount of emotional, internal turmoil, no small amount of teasing, some abuse. Night Watcher says, now, Yogi, Eric, will practice assimilation, which is greeting L, Arabic, similar to Namaste. I need to see that written out larger. If you, next time you leave a comment for me, Night Watcher, which reminds me, if you can leave a comment on any post with your friend's channel, and I would be happy to promote her or him. I keep saying her. I was assuming it's her, but it might be a him. And also, if you spell out that word for me, and I will definitely practice it. Squirrel Sniper says, the message within can only be heard with silence. Which is a path of meditation, and I also think it's the true path of prayer. That's the funny thing. When I was taught how to pray as a kid, it was petitionary prayers. I was always told, ask God for what you want, and then I was told what I was supposed to want. Ask God for what you want, but you don't want to ask for something personal. You want to ask for world peace. You want to ask for helping starving children, which is great things. But then, of course, you feel guilty when you pray. I felt guilty when I would pray for something that I wanted. Later, when I learned contemplative prayer, and I saw how similar it was to meditation, that you are literally praying your way to silence. Um, and it's there that you feel the presence of God. Squirrel Sniper always drops some wisdom for us. Goldie says, I know that I am through Christ, the daughter of the Most High God, just like each of those believe are called sons and daughters. Um, that's beautifully said. I always felt drawn towards the Christian mystics. I mentioned Meister Eckhart, St. Catherine of Siena. I love St. Catherine of Siena's saying, all the way to heaven is heaven. And Meister Eckhart saying, the eye in which I see God is the same eye in which God sees me. And then, of course, he was threatened with excommunication as well as being burned at the stake for uttering such a thing, which he didn't say in the 12th century. It was the Christian mystics who truly, truly developed a relationship in their heart with Jesus, with God. Night Watcher, is that, and please forgive the mistake, Salam alaikum. Alaikum. How close did I get that right? Or the reverse? Night Watcher says yes, but it is the Bengali version. Goldie says, I mean no disrespect. Night Watcher says, like years of saying it slowly, molded into Bengali language, and turned from salam alaikum, salam alaikum to assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum? How did I do? On our usual scale of 0 to 5, Asala Asalam. Asala Asalam. Let me know, Night Watcher. Gordy says, thank you for clarifying that. Squirrel Sipser says about greetings to you, Night Watcher. When you bow, do you remain eye contact or not? Asa lama ayakam. Asala. Yeah, that's going to take some practice. I need to see it in larger print, like on the bigger screen, not on my phone. I have a hard time even reading the comments sometimes. But I will practice. Asa lama alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. How was that? Assalamu. Nope. I had it maybe the first time. The more I try at this point, the worse it'll get. Night Watcher says eye contact. Night Watcher says when we give salam, we have eye contact. It's respectful and traditional. Goldie says I was in Turkey back in 2006. As a prep, we were told that as a lady, you don't make eye contact. That's an invitation to something else. I might have been wrongly informed. Night Watcher says 3.4. The asa is toes, and the kam too. Hey, 3.4 for my first couple of attempts isn't that bad. Night Watcher says, I don't know what you've been told, but in EID, in my aunts and sisters also do eye contact when doing salam. It's just the Quran says not for women to do eye contact. Interesting. Again, for me, no disrespect for any tradition, but the outer forms, I think they might have started with all proper intent as a way from turning away from the outer world so that we can turn inwards. The fifth limb of yoga is pratyahara, which is turning the senses inwards. That would be the practice of yoga nidra or some pranayama where you shut off the senses. So I can see the value in, why they might say to someone in particular who might have an excess of sexual energy that you don't make eye contact so you can turn within. Although there's a valuable Sufi practice of eye gazing, where you literally give up seeing the form within another and you melt within the deep essence of the person that you're gazing with. Note I said gazing with and not gazing at, as there is a big difference. Goldie says, only when doing this salam alaikum. Squirrel Sniper, oops, let's see, Night Watcher says, like, no, when you kneel down, when you give salam, you aren't talking about that. Squirrel Sniper says, from all my Eastern travels, I have always been known to avoid direct eye contact unless it's going to get physical. Huh, interesting. Goldie says that she was talking in general. I wasn't talking about, okay, during the salam alaikum. Allah. It's not going to come tonight. Night Watcher says, if I'm just, is that tall? Because when I give salam, I'm always semi-eye contact. Huh. In some ways, I really think that I love tradition, but at the same time, it can feel that some traditions keep us from our own spiritual evolution. Night Watcher says, well, it might be just Bangladesh culture. I don't know. You've gotten me interested in reading about the culture. I've Googled it several times and have spent some time to time reading through it, as well as, thanks to our friend Goldie, Romania. I gotta admit, when I start reading about Romania, I have a hard time getting past the forest and the bears. It draws me in. Um, and I go there, I want to read about the people and their traditions. Um, and instead, I find myself researching the bear population of Romania. Now, Watcher says, also, Goldie, I've never done eye contact, Salam General, because I'm too shy to look anyone in the eye. I was much the same. Probably still am in some ways. It's actually fairly amazing that I come on YouTube that has the potential for who knows how many people to watch. Not that I, attract any kind of large audience, um, but the potential, you know, you open yourself up. You come on YouTube, you do a live stream, or you even put any video out where you are seen in person, or you're reading. I read my stuff, my writing. You open yourself up, you make yourself vulnerable, you take your chances. And again, with my own background of being extremely shy, uh, battling my own, what I felt was my own awkwardness for much of my life, um, to be able to come here and have these meaningful conversations, um, is surprising. Night Watcher says, in general, not kneel down. Um, Gordy says, I don't mean any disrespect. It was back in 2006, so that's not necessarily true today. I think if it was true then, it probably is true today. That culturally things changed slowly across the world. Squirrel Sniper says Japanese culture depends on the status of the person. One is greeting, different ways of greeting different classes. That's another thing that always amazed me. Gordy says, yes, but in Europe, you are taught that it's disrespectful not to look people in the eye when talking to them. It's the same with different gestures. Isn't the thumbs up sign disrespectful in some parts of the East? Nightwatcher says, I'm talking about Bengali Islamic culture, not Japanese. Sniper. I think Sniper was just putting out some information, sharing some information, dropping some knowledge on us, which is always appreciated. The more we know about other cultures, the more open-hearted we're able to find ourselves. Goldie says, interesting, Squirrel Sniper. Squirrel Sniper says, Goldie, Latin Western is inverted and reversed. Got to think why. Goldie says, I don't think why. I try to do my best not to offend anyone. Which we've all witnessed here. Squirrel said, yes, you said namaste. Literally means I bow to you. I wanted to know how you bow. That's all. Well, yeah, namaste. I bow or I salute, generally meaning the same thing. I always personally go with the salute as I just resonate better with it. The divinity within me, or some schools will say the light within me, um, recognizes and salutes the divinity within you. Gordy says, so just as St. Paul said, with the Jews, I made myself Jew. With the Greek, I made myself Greek. And I think that is the best way to get an important message across, an important teaching across, to the extent that we're able to, at least. I actually enjoy these metaphysical discussions. Night Watcher says, oh, Sniper, I meant that in Salam is like a greeting similar to Namaste. You don't have to always kneel down. Okay, I see that. Gordy says, not changing the values I have, but being polite to the person next to me. Yeah, being authentic. Something I very much appreciate about you. KD says, hello, brother. Hello, how are you? Appreciate you stopping by. I have had our friend Ivy up and playing, as well as our friend Dagmar, quite a bit, actually, through the day. One after the other. As a matter of fact, I'm looking over here so that I can put, at least for the remaining time that we have here, I want to put up another video of hers to play. I was on Ivy's live stream today, and she mentioned her increase in watch hours. So that's really, really good to hear. Goldie says, I'm still in your burpees, and that's so much appreciated. I see, I mentioned earlier today my numbers. 2,481. That was a plus of 34 watch hours from yesterday. So I see the 3,000. I don't know what you get for 3,000. But 3,000 puts me closer to 4. So, you know, I see that they say you can do something with 3,000, but I have no idea what. Goldie says hello to KD, and KD says I'm from India. Awesome. What part of India are you from, my friend? Goldie says, I try to give a comment as much as I can, and that she has no clue. Yeah, I'll have to ask around and see. It'll be good to reach it. If we were going by way of shorts, I think it would take forever. You got to have 10 million views in a course of a year. I think the most views I've gotten for something is like 2,000 or so. I just wanted to leave a comment on Dagmar, and I'm going to check in with Ivy. It's good to get the feedback from them that their watch hours are growing, because I know all too well that feeling of being stuck, that you have that thing that you would like to arrive at, that you worked hard, you're doing your live streams, you're putting in content, and things just seem stuck. As I've been mentioning, though, you're never really stuck. Things are always in motion. Life is energy, so you can't technically ever be stuck. You can certainly feel like it, and feeling like something is as good as it being true if you're in that belief and you don't find a way to navigate outside of it. But I was mentioning having no people in a chat, having a couple people in a chat, and on occasion having a pretty large group of people in a chat. I'm actually perfectly fine with any of those things happening. I like feeding off of the energy that we have in a conversation, especially like tonight. Not a ton of people, but great information being shared. Just things that are really interesting. Learning a lot. And at the same time, when there's a bigger crowd, some part of the conversation can get left in the shuffle. I'm not always able to read every comment. That was happening earlier today, actually. You sort of have to be selective, and I hate being selective in a conversation, because that means someone is left out, and every comment does deserve, if someone takes the time to leave a comment, to be kind, to be respectful, to put something out there that they want to share or have a question, then all of it should be appreciated. Squirrel Sniper says quality over quantity. I agree with that as well. And as far as coming in here, which happens sometimes, and having no one, I'm actually okay with that. And my conversation continues. I am weirdly happy in my own place, in my own silence, in my own little cavern of conversation. Goldie says to look up. Let's see. Good thing about Google, I don't have to know how to spell. If I get just the first few, see, I got ANTAK, and it comes up. I will have that up for my reading for tomorrow. Just Goldie says to look it up. Province in Turkey. I've been there in 2006. It's not there anymore. Why isn't it there anymore? Oh, I see. February 6, 2023, the city was heavily damaged by two powerful earthquakes. Wow. I see that the Church of St. Paul um, was destroyed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I see that the president promised for an immediate reconstruction. So hopefully that is in the process. Goldie says the earthquake leveled it to the ground. Turkey always struck me as a very beautiful country. Goldie says, yes, the very first place Christians were named Christians. I didn't know that. Well, Goldie says it is. If anyone is interested, Turkey has a brown bear population. Don't ask me why every country that I look up, I have to know if they have a bear population. Could be. Probably the easiest explanation is I'm just weird. Goldie says Turkey is a beautiful country. Squirrel Sniper says, Goldie, did you know that St. George was Turkish himself? We just celebrated that last week. Wasn't St. Nicholas also from Turkey? Goldie says she did not know that. Greek descent. Sorry. Wikipedia says Saint Nicholas was also known as Nicholas of Bari, B-A-R-I, early Christian bishop of Greek descent. Huh. Cody says, I guess it was wrong. It's interesting to dive into that. I believe, where was St. Augustine from? St. Augustine was always a personal favorite. North Africa. I thought I knew that. Goldie says, but there's no saints except the Trinity, and both religions practice. Huh. I didn't know that either. I sort of thought that saints were broad throughout the Christian tradition. Squirrel Sniper says, so North Africa, would that be Egypt? Well, Augustine of Hippo, which is of Berber origin. Algeria. Yeah, Algeria. Goldie says Reformed only had the Trinity, and Baptists only have the Trinity. Boy, Catholics, they love their saints. And not just saints. Well, I guess Mother Mary is considered a saint. One of the things that I appreciated about Catholic Church was one of the ways of arriving to Jesus. It had a feminine path that you could be, for lack of a better expression, you could be devoted to Mother Mary as your path to getting that connection to Jesus. And we get a song from our friend Squirrel Sniper, When the Saints Go Marching In. I do still enjoy diving in the Bible, reading passages, and most recently, Goldie, you've had me diving in quite a bit. So I thank you for that. Goldie says maybe even Angelican, right, Squirrel Sniper? Our friend It Is What It Is here. Says, Eric Lewis, how are you? Goldie's saying hi. What other saints do you guys want to look up? Lewis says, I did it. 8 miles. And by the exclamation points, I'm going to say that it went pretty well. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hazard a guess and say that it was a relatively easy, relatively comfortable 8 miles. Goldie says, well done, it is what it is, and gets a salute from Lewis. Squirrel Sniper says, yes, Goldie, and it is what it is. It says, appreciate that, guys. Psalms 104. Psalms 104, is that be still and know that I am? Praise the Lord, my soul. Lord my God, you are very great. You are clothed with splendor and majesty. The Psalms are definitely among the most poetic. It is what it is, says Eric. My knees felt it the first 2 miles. Advice. You could. Every runner hates to hear this. You could throw in some early walk breaks in the first 2 miles. Doesn't have to be long. 15 seconds. Just get the knees warmed up. Because I'm assuming after the first 2 miles, your knees felt pretty good. So if you ease into the run for 4 minutes, walk for a minute. And just do that first half a mile. First mile if you don't mind the walking. And see how it goes. And then eventually, you won't even need to do that. Goldie says, nope, that's 46. Be still and know that I am God. That was always one of my favorites. I like the, he makes winds his messengers, flames of fire his servants. He sets the earth on foundation, it can never be moved. He covered it with a watery depth, as with a garment. The water stood above the mountains. It's a beautiful description. Thanks for bringing that up, and pointing it out to me. Squirrel Sniper, I appreciate that. Or do is before you start running, do some like low impact striders. Striders are just like you run not really fast for 10 yards. This won't be part of your run. It'll be more of a warm up. So like run for 10 yards, really nice and easy. Turn around and walk back, and do that 5-6 times, and see how that works for you. Gordy says, it's the verse, Score Sniper says that they are. Gordy says, it's the verse that keeps me quiet about what I feel regarding the person I love. 46:10. That came right up, Goldie. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Yeah, it's often used as a pointer for meditation, a pointer for prayer. I mentioned before that for me, I think my all-time favorite is Paul's letter to the Corinthians. It's just, if you want a path of love, there it is, laid out for you. This is how you love. It is what it is, says, I'll do that. Good, let me know how that works. And so what's going to be next? For the half marathon, you honestly don't need to go. You could probably top off at 8 miles and be fine. A lot of people like to take it up to 10 miles. um, to give him some confidence. And if you pace yourself correctly for those first 10 miles, you're going to be ready to let loose for those last 3. Goldie says, in the middle of it all, be still and know. Yeah, that always floors me, reading that. Goldie says, yes, but the love we all strive to achieve, the love God has for us. Beautiful and aspirational. Lewis says she's going to do 10 miles twice before the run. I'm not. Famous last words. Famous last words. It is what it is. Says what's next is 500 Navy SEALs. I'm not surprised. When we talked about that with Unc, I pretty much saw that coming. Yes, Corinthians 13. It might be the most beautiful thing in the Bible. Especially the ending. Meanwhile, these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. I've always had a strong devotional streak. In yoga, it's called Bhakti Yoga, Bhakti, which is the path of devotion. You're devoting yourself completely to God. It is what it is. Says I've never done that. The most I've done is 300. And that was on a whim. It did. I don't remember how many, 108 or so in 20 minutes, and I decided just to slow it down and just to keep going. And I would stop when I would stop, and I made my way to 300. But yeah, in the middle, love is patient and kind. It is not jealous or concerned or conceited or proud. Love is not ill-mannered or selfish or irritable. Love does not keep a record of wrongs. Love is not happy with evil, but is happy with the truth. Love never gives up, and its faith, hope, and patience never fail. Goldie says, well, I believe it's shown in practice at the cross. Father, please forgive them, for they don't know what they do. I agree. And I always have pointed out that's a very, very similar to the path of forgiveness in yoga. Because in yoga, they call them the kleshas. And the kleshas are the 5 obstacles that keep us from self-realization, that keep us from liberation. And it's our attachment to ideas, to opinions, to self, our aversion, certain things, certain people, certain thoughts, certain ideas, as well as our ignorance, our fear of death, and our belief that we are the ego. And we don't see how we're pushed and pulled by all those things. So we live in that ignorance. So the path of forgiveness helps us see, helps us become aware that people can only respond from that level where they find themselves. That was a beautiful moment on the cross, though. That's the essence. I know people often speak of the essence of Christianity is the resurrection, and of course, that's the very basis. But for me, the essence of Christianity is that moment on the cross when Jesus calls for forgiveness. In A Course in Miracles, it's said that the lesson of the cross is that we can all survive our own crucifixion through forgiveness. It Is What It Is says, how do you feel about fruit tarts? I don't eat them because I've worked my way to the point where I don't have any processed foods really. But you can get, some pretty healthily made fruit tarts. You can get them organic. You can get them lower in sugar. So yeah, it's not a bad thing. Just my own personal diet. I've just through process of elimination, and then I never added things back in. So there's Lewis's worst things to be addicted to. Gordy says it's because without his sacrifice there is no forgiveness. And that because he was the perfect lamb without sin and blemish. Yeah, it really, for me, I think the most powerful moment in Christianity. Our friend Holgo is here. Hello, my friend. How are you? We're just getting ready to call it an evening. I'm just getting ready to call it an evening. I got my breath work that I'm going to be doing. Lewis asks, at what age did Jesus leave his parents, Gordy? It's a good question. So I'm going to see the answer to that question, and I think I'm going to have to call it a night, guys. Man, I don't know how Noble puts in those monster 4, 5, 6, 12-hour sessions, as well as our friend Mocha, Mayhem and Miracles, will on a daily basis do 3 or 4 hours. I think I could probably sit and talk for a good 3 hours. Algo says, I'm good. How are you? Well, I'm glad that you're good. I'm doing pretty well too, actually. I'm getting ready for bed. And my cat's meowing at me. It Is What It Is says, and when he came back to get baptized, what was his age? Algo says, hey Goldie, why is the cross the symbol of Christianity? Well, that is, for me, that's where Jesus offered his forgiveness. And as Goldie said, without his sacrifice, without him sacrificing his life, because Jesus, as being able to being able to perform miracles, could have simply made none of that happen. And yet he willingly gave his life on the cross to show that through forgiveness, through love, through faith, that we are reborn to eternal life. Hey, our friend Michael Robinson is here. Flower is going to be so pleased to hear. Michael Robinson says, Eric, this is my last day. The cancer caught up, but I'm there. Going to have a party for me, but it won't change the fact that your content is amazing, and I wish I could stay, but it's the end for me, pal. Michael, I'm sorry. Man, that floors me, my friend. I'm not sure. I don't even have a reply for it. I'm just, my heart breaks. I appreciate that you took time to come here and let us know, as well as the kind words, my friend. Goldie says he went missing at the age of 13, lost in the temple, but I believe late 29 or 30 years old. It is what it is. Says that's crazy, Eric, that you're going to sleep soon because it's 3:45 over here. Well, it's almost 7 here, which is still pretty early. But you know, again, I'll be up at 2:30. It's starting my day over. Lewis says, thank you, Goldie. So it's difficult to say that he was perfect because we know nothing of him that time doing his thing, right? Goldie says he was tempted. He started his ministry at 30 years old after he was tempted in the wilderness. I wrote a little lyrical prose maybe a year ago that Jesus always returned to nature. That for me, that was always such a beautiful thing. It is what it is, says Michael, stay strong, brother. I agree. Kartuz, am I pronouncing that right? Says, I'm in Bangladesh. Bangladesha. Is there a difference, Bangladesha and Bangladesh? Our friend Nightwatcher is in Bangladesh as well. Gordy says, I'll let you believe what you choose. Christians don't offer sacrifices anymore because he was the perfect lamb. Gordy says, Michael, I'm sorry. I am as well, my friend. Gordy says, hi there, Akart. Akart. Nice to meet you. It is nice to meet you, my friend. I appreciate you being here. Unfortunately, I gotta call it a night. Squirrel Shepherd says, eternal rest grant unto them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them. Beautiful way to finish things up, Squirrel Sniper. I appreciate that. I really do enjoy these conversations quite a bit. Goldie says, thank you for the lovely live and chat. And thank you, Goldie. A lot of great information shared. A lot of important topics discussed. And it's just not often, it seems to me, that you can have these discussions with a diverse group of people. You can have them with people who are of the same denomination, but from a broad spectrum, it doesn't seem often that you can have them and have it be as open and caring as what we've been able to offer here for each of us. So it's very much appreciated. Michael Robinson, you are in my prayers, my friend. It is what it is. Says till next time, if God allows. Another great way to end things. I agree 100%. Thanks. Let me know how you feel tomorrow, Lewis. How the knees are feeling. Gordy says, may the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be accepted in your sight. Pray tonight. Beautiful. Thanks, guys. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Very much appreciated for you all being here. It is what it is, says I definitely will, Eric. Thank you. Awesome.